Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Tiny Classroom Training Live. We're thrilled to have you here as we embark on enhancing your professional skills. This session focuses on the importance of difficult conversation. Please feel free to ask questions in the chat as our coaches Don Zalou and Artie Nathan will be answering some as we move along. Let me pass the microphone to our esteemed coaches who will guide us through today's session. Artie and Don, the floor is yours.
Juan. And Don, it's good to be here again. I'm sorry we missed 2 weeks ago. I had some surgery and was unable to get to the microphone, but I'm glad to be back and doing pretty well. And as Juan said, today it's why are difficult conversations so important and why can they be so difficult? Don, let me ask the first question. I mean, do people have a lot of difficult conversations?
Well, whether they have them or not, they should, you know. And difficult conversations are scary for a lot of people, you know. And as you and I explore the various industries that we work in, we'll ask a question once in a while. Tell me about coaching. What does coaching mean? And most people say it's when you gotta whack somebody. It's when you gotta read them the riot act. And you know, really difficult conversations are about 10% of coaching. And so just resetting the idea of what they're about and why, very, very important. But let's look at problem solving as the first issue, perhaps that we might consider.
Well, I think difficult conversations happen because there is a problem.
Right.
And a problem, if it happens in the workplace, you can't let it go. It's an issue that has to be addressed because if left unresolved, it can fester and grow into larger problems. And that's probably an even more difficult conversation.
Yeah, and that really, the sort of reason for a lot of it is it makes most people very nervous. They get anxious about it. They don't want to do it. So they walk around it and pussyfoot it around. And they really often don't recognize that it's an opportunity for personal growth, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, facing challenges and challenging topics, you know, helps us develop our own emotional intelligence and our own communication skills. So emotional intelligence is certainly a component of successful, difficult conversations.
You know, work is all about relationship building.
Mm-hmm.
And in good times, relationships tend to build naturally, but it's not always all good times. And people appreciate honest and open dialogue. It can strengthen the bonds and increase trust between people. And you shouldn't, as Don said, you shouldn't shy away from this because things need to be addressed. And when you address them, relationships tend to build.
And you know, a key notion there's trust. And the more we're able to handle difficult conversations successfully with people, the more they learn to trust us. It's not a scary thing. It's not a bad thing. It's about conflict resolution, you know, problem resolution. And so it gives us an opportunity to sort of resolve disagreements constructively, doesn't it?
Yeah. And if you're going to be constructive about it, you can be creative as well.
Mm.
Sometimes these difficult issues are hard to figure out. And so you have to put your thinking cap on and you have to come up with new ideas to process positive change. And if you do that, both parties will feel great about it because you've taken a nagging issue and resolved it.
And so, Artie, why can these conversations be so difficult?
Well, these are people we're dealing with, and you get emotionally involved in work in all kinds of ways. You have strong feelings, and they can cloud judgment and make it hard to communicate clearly. And it's hard to take your emotions out of it because you get all excited that something's not right and you want to fix it. And so those strong feelings, you've got to learn to control them.
That's right. It's absolutely right. Spot on. Thank you. And there's always the fear of conflict. We kind of all of us generally go into these sorts of potentially conflicting conversations with a great deal of trepidation. So, and a lot of people are conditioned to avoid conflict, right? And they see it kind of inherently negative. They take the idea that it's going to be bad right into the conversation. This is what makes it really challenging to initiate, you know, or to participate in a difficult conversation, even when they're necessary, is that fear of the conflict.
I think that fear is natural.
Yeah.
And you just rather avoid it and be happy and hope everybody else is happy. But that problem's not going to go away. And once you open up about it,
Mhm.
you'll be vulnerable. The person you're dealing with will feel vulnerable because these are sensitive issues that can feel very risky and tricky. And so you want to put people at ease and say, look, we're both involved here. We've got a mutual respect. Let's try and figure this out. And you put the vulnerability aside.
I think that's an excellent point, and and critical to so many responsibilities and issues for managers is communication skills, and we talk about it a lot. But certainly, to resolve a difficult conversation successfully, really is it requires excellent communication skills. So effective communication, especially in high stakes or emotional situations, is a skill that needs to be developed, and it doesn't come naturally. Many people haven't had the opportunity to learn, practice these skills, making difficult conversations probably even more challenging.
And you don't have to approach them as being difficult. We haven't talked yet about your mindset. Communication, when you have the right mindset, you can get into communications a whole lot better. And if you think this is going to be terrible, this is going to be contentious, well, you're going to be tense. You're going to feel, I don't think I'll be able to fix this. But this whole issue of communication skills, Don, you've really opened up a box of worms here, because
Yeah.
you got to figure that. And your nonverbal communication skills. If you think this is going to be tough and you approach it like this, they're going to see that, they're going to react like that, and the potential consequences of this whole problem, uh, you want to understand them in your head before you start, because the outcome of a conversation could lead to unwanted changes or decisions. So you got to start with the end in mind. Don says that a lot. And if you know where you're going with this, then you're going to manage it appropriately. And don't let those potentially bad consequences occur. If in fact you have good consequences in your head, then that's what you're working towards.
You mean starting a conversation like this isn't a good idea?
Yeah,
No.
yeah. Wait,
No.
wait a second. We got a problem here. Come here. We got to talk about this. All those
Probably.
all those entrees into the conversation just set you up for failure.
That's fine.
I know
So,
this because I've been involved in a lot. This
I-
sounds very personal to me, Don.
it's a scary thing for everybody. Talk to us about power dynamics, Artie.
Power dynamics. Look, when you start a conversation with I'm the boss and you're not, or
Yeah.
even if you don't say that and you sort of imply that, you're going down the wrong road. And you have to approach a conversation like this as we've got a mutual issue here that we both have to work at to solve. And we're going to probably have to give and take some things here, but let's look at this with an eye towards resolving it so that everybody's satisfied. And then the power goes away. Then the idea of you're the boss and I'm not goes away. And the real issue is, what are we talking about and how can we resolve it?
Thanks. I kind of threw that one into our
Yeah, you did.
conversation.
I mean, I wasn't ready for
But
that.
you did good. You did good. I want to add one thing to this: the notion of cultural differences, especially in today's workforce. We have so many different folks from different places and different cultures and different countries and different languages and different senses of themselves that they come to the workplace. So different cultures have, very varying norms about directness, about conflict, appropriate topics for discussion. And these differences can add another layer of complexity to already difficult conversations. And we should always be aware of the reality for the other person and try to mirror it, try to respect who they are, where they come from, even as we're having that difficult conversation.
And you're right. If you approach any situation or conversation
Mhm.
with a respectful attitude
Mhm.
and you listen and you coach people because you're concerned about them, you'll bring the level down. You'll bring the temperature down of this. And it doesn't matter where you're from or how old you are, respect is appreciated by everyone in the workplace. And if you approach a difficult conversation with a respectful attitude, you've got a good chance of resolving it positively.
Not only does it help you solve the difficult conversation, but the other person emerges from these conversations, and if they feel respected, and if there's a problem's been solved, and they're still doing fine, and they've had an opportunity to learn, that spreads throughout the organization too, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Enhances that.
And not for nothing, if you have a successful, difficult conversation, you don't have to go talk about it. The person you're dealing with is going to tell their coworkers, their friends, wow, that wasn't bad. And now your reputation goes up because you're building trust, you're building respect. And that's the kind of thing that builds a good workplace culture. And all of these topics that we talk about in these live sessions are covered in our Tiny Classroom training classes. And if you go to our Tiny Classroom website, you'll see the classes. But communications is something that weaves itself through all of our classes because it's so important. The difference, as we've said, is between a good manager and a great manager is his or her ability to communicate effectively. So learn and practice your communication skills and get ready for things like this, because it's not always going to be fun and games. And when you have a conversation like this and you do it well, everything turns out better.
It does, and that's well said. You want to take us out of our Tiny Classroom training live today, Artie?
I think these things are fun for Don and me. I hope you enjoy listening to us, and we look forward to seeing you back here 2 weeks from today.
We do. So thank you, and let us know how you feel about these little classes we're doing. We're having a good time, but they have the intention of helping, generally the people who view them. So thank you all for being here.